this video, we're going to be solving two-step inequalities with rational numbers. So our essential question, how do you solve two-step inequalities with rational numbers? So how do we do that? Guess what? We're going to do it the exact same way we solved our two-step inequalities in the last video, but now we've got those pesky fractions and decimals to deal with. So again, the first thing we want to do is undo any addition or subtraction using the properties of inequalities. And then secondly, undo any multiplication or division using properties of inequalities. And then as always, what do? We have to remember to flip the symbol when multiplying or dividing by a negative. So hopefully that is beaten into your brain now at this point, that whenever you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative, you have to flip the inequality symbol around. So let's solve some inequalities, shall we? 2/3 m plus 1/3 is less than 1/2. So now we are loaded with fractions in this problem. So the first thing we want to do is undo this addition. We're adding 1/3, so we want to undo that. So we're going to subtract 2/3 from both, or sorry, 1/3 from both sides, plus 1/3 minus 1/3, and then 1/2 minus 1/3. And on the left-hand side, these 1/3 will cancel each other out, leaving me 2/3 times m is going to be less than, because I don't have to worry about flipping that symbol, because all I'm doing is subtracting from both sides. And 1/2 minus 1/3 is 1/6. So now step one is done. I have undone the addition, and now all I have left is multiplication. So to undo that, I'm going to divide. So I'm going to divide by 2/3. 2/3 m divided by 2/3, and 1/6 divided by 2/3. And 2/3 m divided by 2/3 is just 1m, and 1/6 divided by 2/3 is 1/4. And now the big question, do I keep or do I flip? Well, I divided both sides by a positive number. Even though it was a fraction, it's still positive, so that's going to keep. M is less than 1/4. So again, I'm going to graph this solution. 1/4 would be here. Count by 1/4, there's 0. There's 1/2. There's 3/4, and then 1 would be right here. M is less than 1/4, so 1/4 is not a solution, so that's an open circle, and then everything to the left of 1/4 is a solution. Everything less than 1/4. And there we've solved it, just like we solved all of our other two-step inequalities. The next one, -5/8 times u minus 1/4 is less than or equal to 1/16. Again, my first step is to undo that subtraction, so I'm going to add 1/4 to both sides. Minus 1/4 plus 1/4, and then 1/16 plus 1/4. And again, those will cancel each other out, leaving me -5/8 u. And 1/16 plus 1/4 is 5/16. And my inequality symbol will not flip. So -5/8 u is less than or equal to 5/16. Now I'm multiplying by -5/8, so I need to undo that. So I'm going to divide both sides by -5/8. Uh-oh. What are you thinking? Hopefully you're thinking what I'm thinking. And that is that I am dividing both sides of this inequality by a negative number. And what does that mean? Well, we shall see. -5/8 u divided by -5/8 is just u. 5/16 divided by -5/8 is -1/2. And what do we need to do? Since we divided both sides of this by a negative number, we need to flip. That needs to become greater than or equal to. So here is my solution. U is greater than or equal to -1/2. And then as always, I'm going to graph that. Here's -1/2. This would be 0. Here would be -1. And greater than or equal to. So that is included. That's a filled in circle. U is everything greater than or equal to -1/2. So that would be shaded or to the right. So everything to the right on the number line is greater than -1/2. And there's my solution there. So those were a couple of examples of working with inequalities that contain fractions. So here we've got some decimals now. Again, the same strategy. We're going to undo the addition first here in this problem. Z divided by -1.2 plus 7.1 is greater than 1.1. So I'm going to subtract 7.1 from both sides of this inequality. Minus 7.1, and then 1.1 minus 7.1. On the left-hand side, those 7.1s will cancel each other out. I have z divided by negative 1.2 is greater than 1.1 minus 7 is negative 6. So that's step 1. Step 2, now I need to get rid of this division or undo the division. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 1.2. Uh-oh. I'm multiplying both sides by a negative number. Left-hand side is z. Negative 6 times negative 1.2 is positive 7.2. And since I multiplied both sides by a negative number, that means, yes, you guessed it, I have to flip my inequality symbol around. So z is less than 7.2. So when I graph my solution here, here's 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, 7.1, 7 or 7.0. Z is less than 7.2, so not included. That's an open circle. And shaded to the left, everything to the left of 7.2 is my solution. Last one, 25 is greater than or equal to 3.7y plus 2.8. So again, I'm going to undo this addition over here on the side with the variable by subtracting 2.8. 25 minus 2.8. 3.7y plus 2.8 minus 2.8. And 25 minus 2.8 is 22.2. My inequality symbol is going to stay the same. And this is just 3.7y. So step 1, got rid of that constant by subtracting 2.8 from both sides. Now I need to undo the multiplication by dividing. I'm going to divide both sides by 3.7. And 22.2 divided by 3.7 is 6, and 3.7y divided by 3.7 is just y. And then now the question, do I keep or do I flip? Well, I divided both sides by a positive number, so that is a keep situation here. So 6 is greater than or equal to y. And again, if that variable on the right-hand side throws you off, we can flip this around to rewrite this as y is less than or equal to 6. Again, the arrow is still pointing at the y, so these are equivalent. So y is less than or equal to 6. So that is going to be graphed with 6 in the middle, 7, 8, 5, 4, and y is less than or equal to 6. So that 6 is included. That's a filled in circle. And everything less than 6, or 6 has to be bigger than everything. That's a solution. Another way to think about that. So that is shaded to the left. So there we are, solving two-step inequalities with rational numbers, solving them the same way we have our two-step equations previously, but just dealing with fractions and decimals.